Alright, so we're going to do lesson 81 now today with Saxon math, and this is arithmetic with units of measure, where we're going to be adding, multiplying, subtracting using different kinds of measurements. We're going to skip our first part of our math facts where we do our flashcards, but we are going to go ahead and do mental math. So do this with me. I'm going to talk through it as I go through. So this first one, we're just going to calculate 311 times 7. Now we can remember, you can just times the 3 times 7, that's going to be 21. And then the 11 times 7, it's going to be 77, right? So we got 2177. 2000 minus 1250, remember 1000 minus 250 is 750. So if we're starting with 250, we're just going to get 750 there. Then we've got 999 times 4. Now if it was 10 times 4, it'd just be $40. If it's 1 cent less, that'd just be 1 cent times 4. So what's 4 cents less than $40? That would be $39.96. Alright, calculation 250 plus, again, $10 minus 1 cent. So if it was $10 plus 250, it'd just be $12.50 minus a cent. So that would be $12.49. Double 550, doubling 5 is 10, 50 cents doubled is $1, so we've just got $10 plus $1, that's $11. Then on decimals, if we multiply by 100, remember we can just add those, move the decimal over by the 2 zeros. So if we move over 1, 2, that puts us at 7.5. How many milliliters? Mil is 1,000, are in 2 liters, so that would be 2,000. Then we go 8 times 8 is 64, plus 6 is 70, divided by 2 is 35, plus 1 is 36, divided by 6 is 6, times 3 is 18, divided by 2 is 9. Now let's check our work. Alright, 2177, got it. 750, got it. 39.96, got it. 12.49, got it. 11 bucks. 7.5. 2,000. Oh, I forgot to put milliliters. How many milliliters are in 2 liters? 2,000 milliliters. And then our final answer is 9. Good. So we're doing good here on our mental math. For our problem solving, again, let me read this to you and see what you can do on your own, and then after a few seconds I'll try to solve it. Alexis has 6 coins that total exactly $1. Name 1 coin she must have and 1 coin she cannot have. So if we rethink through this, it's just she has 6 coins. We know she's going to have at least 1 kind of coin and she can't have 1 kind of coin. Okay? So go ahead and try to figure that on your own. I'm going to go ahead and put 6 here. Alright. I'm guessing 1 that she must have is a quarter, but we'll try that. So if this was a quarter, and it's going to add up to $1, let's see if we do a quarter for 3 of them. A quarter, a quarter, a quarter, and then we could do, for the other 2, a dime, and a nickel. That's 6. So that means she has to have a quarter, and she doesn't have a penny here. But let's try another combination. Maybe instead of quarter, 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 dime, dime, what if we did, doesn't say we can't do 50-cent piece. Let's try a 50 cent, and then a dime, a dime, a dime, a dime, a dime. So there she had to have a dime no matter what, and again still didn't have a penny. What if we did a 50-cent piece and a quarter? That gives us 75. Oh, but now even if we did pennies, we'd still only have 4. So pennies is the one we know that she cannot have. That's going to be penny. For the one that she must have, I'm guessing it's going to be a quarter or a dime. If we did 50, 25, so that's 75, 85, 95, and then $1. Again, we still have a dime. So I'm going to say a dime. That's allowing for a 50-cent piece. If they don't allow a 50-cent piece, then it's going to be a quarter. Let's see what they said. Dime and penny. Woohoo, we got it. All right. So that's our math facts for the day. Now you can put your power-ups away. Just kidding, you don't have your power-ups. Alright, so for our lesson today, our lesson's not real hard today, it's mostly review, but it's one that a lot of you are messing up on. And so please pay attention, especially as we go through the division part. Today we're going to look at different operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We may add or subtract measurements that have the same units. Let me show you what we're talking about here. So if we have 2 feet and 12 inches, the important thing here that we need to start with is we have to convert one of those so that they're the same. Now we could convert feet to inches, or we could convert inches to feet. If we do feet to inches, 2 feet would be 24 inches plus 12 inches equals 36 inches. So that's one way we could do it. If we converted to feet, 12 inches would be feet, so then it'd just be 2 feet plus 1 feet equals 1 foot equals 3 feet. Well, 3 feet is the same thing as 36 inches, so it checks out. But you have to convert first. It's going to just tell us the same thing here. Units are not the same. Before we add, we must convert 2 feet to 24 inches or 12 inches to 1 foot. So that's exactly what we just did. We get 36 inches or 3 feet, and it's equal. So that one's not too tricky. Now in each equation in example 1, the units of the sum are the same as the units of the addends. That's talking about these things here. The units do change when we multiply or divide. And this is the new thing. It's a little tricky when we multiply, because when we add, so if we added 3 centimeters to 2 centimeters, it would just be 5 centimeters. But when we multiply the numbers and, what's this thing called? The addend? No. Whatever. Oh, the unit. So you multiply the unit, and that's the tricky thing here. So if we look at this one, 2 times 3 is 6. Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. We've practiced that. We're going to practice division today. If we have 1 centimeter, a square centimeter is used to measure the area, so we times 1 times 1, and that's 1 squared centimeter. Not too tricky yet. Alright? Again, we can pull these apart. 2 times 3 and centimeter times centimeter, that's going to give us the 6 and squared centimeters. Or we can write it this way and give it centimeters squared. Now remember, you can write it one of 2 ways. You can do the squared centimeters or centimeters squared. What you can't do is do the squared centimeters like that. That doesn't work, because that just looks like it's 2 times centimeters. It's just confusing. So please write centimeters squared or write it out, squared centimeters. Okay, so now we're going to try a problem here. Multiply 6 feet times 4 feet. We'll do it just the way they did it. So we can do 6 times 4 and feet times feet. And that gives us 24 feet squared, or squared feet. Okay? Not too tricky. And they're just going to brace those together, 6 times 4 and feet times feet, do the same thing, 24 feet squared, or the other way to write it, squared feet. Alright, now here's what we haven't done. We haven't done division. So here, if we know both the area and the length of the rectangle, we can find the width by dividing. So if the area here is 21 centimeters squared, and we know one length is 7, so 7 times something is going to equal 21 centimeters squared. So what we can do is we can just divide by 7, so we write it like this, 21 centimeters squared divided by 7 centimeters. Now 21 divided by 7, if we reduce that, that's just going to be 3 over 1, or 3. The tricky thing here is centimeters squared divided by centimeters. Another way to write centimeters squared is just centimeters times centimeters. Then we can do canceling, and we're just left with centimeters on top. So now our answer is 3 centimeters. And then we can check our work, right? 7 centimeters times 3 centimeters equals 7 times 3 is 21. Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. It checks out. Alright, so here we try it with 25 miles squared over 5 miles squared. Same thing, we're going to start with the number and just reduce 25 and 5. If we cancel those out, that just gives us 5 over 1. Miles squared can also be written as miles times miles. And if that's over miles, we're going to cancel out, and we're just left with miles. So 5 miles is our answer. Not too tricky on that one either. Okay? And they're going to do the same thing. The quotient is 5 miles. Perfect. All right. Now here's where it gets exciting. You hear about miles per hour or miles per gallon. That's because the units of measurement aren't the same. And so we say per, that's the same as dividing by. And so here it says sometimes we divide measurements, the units do not reduce. That's what I'm talking about. When units will not reduce, we leave the units in fraction form. So for example, if a car travels 300 miles in 6 hours, 300 miles in 6 hours, we can find the average speed of a car by dividing. So the 300 divided by 6, we'll just cancel that out or reduce. So 300 divided by 6 is going to give 50. And then miles over hour, we just leave it as miles over hour. So then our answer is 50 miles an hour. So if you can go 300 miles in 6 hours, you're driving at 50 miles an hour. This is going to take some practice. Once it clicks in, it's going to be easy, but it takes a little bit of practice. So let's go through this one. If we go 300 miles on 10 gallons of gas, how many miles per gallon do we get? Well, let's take 310. Canceling out there is easy. We can just get rid of those 2 zeros. Then we get 30 over 1, so it's going to be 30. And then miles over gallon, those can't reduce, so we just say miles per gallon. Okay, 30 miles per gallon. That's a pretty efficient car. That must be like my Toyota Camry. It gets about 30 miles to gallon. Probably not a truck. All right, so that one's not too tricky. Let's see the work that they show here on this one. 300 miles over 10 gallons, they'll reduce the same way, 30 over 1 miles per gallon. There we go. And that's it. You have your practice set here if you want to try these. It just says simplify on A, 2 feet minus 12 inches. You're going to have to convert those. On B, 2 feet times 4 feet. So remember, just multiply 2 times 4 and feet times feet. Then the trickier ones that we haven't spent as much time with, 12 centimeters squared divided by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Centimeters squared divided by centimeters just leaves centimeters, so it's 4 centimeters. And then the miles per hour, 300 miles over 5 hours. We reduce the 300 and the 5, that would give us 60, and then miles per hour. Okay? So that's it for today's lesson. That's lesson 81. There you go.